Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
So 3 of the biggest stories that we barely touched on this week, we want to go deeper for you right now.
So let's start with number 1.
Every day this week, we were talking about Artemis II and this incredible, crazy, dark side of the moon mission. That's not what they're really calling it, but anyway.
It'd be a Pink Floyd album reference from the 1970s.
I didn't even realize that, just dark side of the moon. But, okay, so when I found out a couple of days ago that they're going to come in and splash down faster than ever before.
Yeah. And
at first, when we touched on that, we didn't know really why. But now today we found out why. I did anyway, and we dropped it in 3 things to know for you. This heat shield that in Artemis I in that mission had some unexpected cracking and shedding during re-entry, causing some problems. So NASA chose to not replace this shield, but to change it basically, change the
trajectory.
The trajectory of the angle, I guess, as what they're going to come in, and to limit the exposure of the heat to the shield, which is why they're coming in faster. Did I explain that right?
Yeah. Okay. Artemis
Take
1,
over, please.
Artemis 1 was unmanned. That was their test. And when it came in, more wear and tear on the heat shield than they thought. And that's the same heat shield that's on Artemis 2.
And we should probably explain that the reason that there's a heat shield is when you re-enter the atmosphere, it's a lot of friction suddenly that exists, and that causes heat. So these space vehicles are built with unbelievable protection against heat extremes we're not used to.
And this goes all the way back to Apollo. And if you remember the space shuttle, white on top, black on the bottom, black on the bottom, that was where the heat shield tiles were for when it came in.
Okay.
5,000 degrees is about what it's going to hit. And they had the choice of replacing this heat shield on Artemis 2, but it's like, if we do that, we're going to delay the program for years, not months, years. So they're like, we'll leave it on. We'll change the method of reentry. So that's why they're coming in so fast, is because they're coming in at a steeper entry to limit the time they're exposed to the heat. And then they're going to do that skip thing I told you all about.
Yeah.
They come in.
Explain again.
They come in, they hit the atmosphere and skip to slow themselves down. And then they come in the atmosphere at a slower. It's like skipping a stone on water.
Yeah.
You know, it slows down each time it skips.
That makes sense.
That's what it's going to do. So it skips, then they come down and come on.
It's kind of a worrisome story, though. And I've read where there are astronauts, some people within NASA who are like, this is not a great plan, that they don't love the plan.
Why? I mean, it's, to me, if it's a safety and quality control issue, why don't you just delay by a couple of years? I mean, that's the safer bet to do.
Space race?
Yeah.
What is it that costs extra time? Do they have to redesign it? Does it take that long to apply it?
For the ones going forward after Artemis 2, this thing was already on Artemis 2, but the ones going forward, they've made them better based on the Artemis 1 wear and tear. So here going forward, everything's going to be great. I don't know what the NASA reason was for not replacing it. I mean, to me, safety is more important than a delay.
And I'm sure they would not.
It's a workaround. Right.
I'm sure that they're not putting the astronauts in an unsafe position by doing this, but there are people that would question it.
Yeah, any more danger than they're already in. What they're already doing is
dangerous to begin with.
It is. You don't do that without knowing the risks involved. And we were talking about that today in the show, that when they come back, you know what it's like after you've been at the gym and you're sore the next day, or you just feel wonky. They're going to feel wonky for a month because they've been at zero gravity.
Yeah.
It actually forces you to lose like 20% of your muscle mass. They're going to have problems with their vision. They're going to have problems possibly with vertigo and things like that for months.
When the ship that's going to put, if you remember the old days, the capsule was in the water, the helicopter would pick up the astronauts. Well, this one is going to be kind of like we've seen recently, where the capsule, a ship like backs up to the capsule and they pull it onto the ship. And then the astronauts come out. They'll all be on stretchers because they can't stand up because of the gravity thing.
Unreal.
They get checked out. They get flown to the base. They get checked out there. And supposedly within a few hours, they should be able to stand up again.
But they're just going to feel weird. But
they're going to feel weird for a while. Well, they get on a plane and they go back to Houston later tonight, I think.
Yes.
The reason this is unusual, because when you say old days, you actually mean the old days, because
Apollo days.
What most people, and unless you're 50 something, you don't remember. I mean, I don't remember the Apollo days. I was barely born when that happened.
You probably know the movies, though.
Yeah, I mean, in the movies I have. But But, I mean, for almost 30 years or 25 years, we had the space shuttle program, which is so many people are familiar with astronauts leaving and coming back, not doing the moon thing with that. But, and I guess you can't really do that. That vehicle's not designed for that. But that's the way space exploration worked for about 25 years, was the reusable vehicle that would come in and land just like a jet. And so that's the only reason I bring that up, is for somebody to even wonder, why are they splashing into the ocean instead of coming back the way that they used to? It's because this is not part of the shuttle program. And are they ever talking about doing a reusable vehicle for the moon, or is that even possible?
I don't know. I haven't
There's
looked into
so much
that.
to know. Even if you were sitting here and you were an astronaut, you would have your answer was not sure about this, because also they don't release every little piece of information, every little decision that they make. It's not all public record.
Right.
I'm sure Elon's got a hand in this, along with NASA, and he is a big proponent of reusing stuff because it costs less.
Correct.
So I wouldn't be surprised if part of it is going to be reused. I don't know which parts of it will be reused.
I want to restate also, if you want to watch, the splashdown tonight, it's expected, 8:07 Eastern, and you can watch it with NASA's YouTube channel. You can watch it on Netflix. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, HBO Max. They're all covering it, and the NASA app has all their platforms. So it's not like you can't get away from it, but you're going to be able to find it if you'd like to watch it.
And going back to the heat shield thing, there is a 6-minute window where they lose communication with the ground. Kind of like when I went around the back of the moon, they lost communication for 41 minutes. It's just, you can't have it. It's planned. When they land, when they're coming down, because of the heat and the plasma on the outside of the capsule, they don't have any communication for about 6 minutes. So that's like 6 minutes of
wondering.
I sure hope it works.
And to me, the 6 minutes, can you imagine if you're the family, if you're the spouse, if you're the child of that person, of that space explorer, doing something incredible?
And if you want a little reference, I mean, it's Hollywood, but Apollo 13, that movie.
Yes.
In that movie, when those guys came back to Earth, it was the same. But this has been going on forever. Whenever you come through the atmosphere, there's a dead time. So if you watch Apollo 13,
I remember
skip ahead to the end of the movie where they're coming back, and it's gone. And it's like, now
what now?
Control to Apollo 13. Hello, come in, and it's.
Yeah, as it should
finally
be.
comes back.
When you think about how impressive it was for that time, because the technology did not exist that we have today, when they talk about the power of your iPhone today is actually more than the power of the room full of computers that ran those first missions back in the late 60s and early 70s. And so you talk about risk. I mean, I just can't. Not that there's any less risk of things today, but what we've learned, either the hard way or because of technology, we're able to predict, and AI models
we do know
make
more
it better.
Today.
We know a heck of a lot more. Those pioneers, I think it's important to remember what it was that they did, because it was all calculated, mechanical, technical work. Very little of it was computerized at all.
It's like they needed more people.
So pulling that off at that time, where they were where the technological age was to me is just mind blowing.
And they had a deadline from Kennedy.
Yeah, right.
Before
exactly.
the end of the decade,
right?
And they just got it in. Also, have you ever been to the Space Center?
I have not, but
even the Smithsonian, where they have one of the capsules there and looked inside those things. It's like, no way, I'm not doing that.
It's tiny.
It's tiny, and like Murphy said, it's more mechanical than computer. And you just look at it and go,
how could you have put yourself in that?
This went to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've got levers and buttons, and you've got things that are totally not computerized. Well,
you have to know, Sam, that of all people in my life, you're the most spaced out.
For sure, man.
You're the most space enthusiastic, fanatic person I've ever known, and we've been friends for a long time. So my knowledge about space exploration has come to me through your excitement and all the things you've ever really said. Of course, I took I went to school and we watched stuff, but it never really sunk in for me.
Yeah.
And I never really had a passion for it. And so, whatever you tell me, if I have a space question, you're the person I ask.
Why, thank you.
Well,
and I guess I'm sorry. I guess you'll be watching tonight, the splashdown?
Well, it sounds like I don't have a choice.
I need to go back and look at some of the home movies that my grandfather shot because I don't remember which space mission that they went to Cape. I guess they called it Cape Kennedy at that time, right? Is that Cocoa Beach? And so he's got film footage of one of the missions taking off. I don't know if it was manned, unmanned,
so he
or whatever.
Saw a takeoff.
Yeah,
cool.
And that. They say that is awe-inspiring. I mean, I saw that from comments for people who actually saw this Artemis mission go up, that there's nothing like feeling the rumble of the ground and seeing it in person.
Yeah.
There's nothing a screen can do justice, for with that because it's so impressive.
In the mid-'70s, we had a family vacation to Disney World, and, Mom, I want to go to the Space Center. So we drove over there, and that was when Apollo-Soyuz, which was the one where we went up and the Soviets went up and we connected in space first time. That was on the launch pad, the Apollo part of that. And so we got to see that. We never saw an actual launch, which I've always wanted to see, but we got to see something sitting out on the pad, and that was just really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Shall we move on to something else today that we talked about, or are you too sad to let the space discussion go?
Another little tidbit. I told you the astronauts, they're going to get on a plane and fly back to Houston.
Yes.
The capsule actually they put it on a flatbed and they bring it back to Florida.
Okay.
So I'm assuming I-10, if, summer vacation takes you there, maybe you'll run into it and see it.
Somebody will post it. That's another thing is that, your grandfather watching the launch, you got to watch it. Maybe you watched it on the news, but with social media the way it is, you will be able to connect with other people during this whole thing tonight. Like, people will be online sharing it. It will it'll be a viral event too.
And the astronauts were on social media from space.
I know.
That is cool.
You guys follow Tom Hanks at all? He's very into it because of his work on the movie Apollo 13. He was wishing them well when they, left. And he's been all about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? At Splashdown. And somebody, NASA would let him in. So it's a viral, shared thing because of our connectedness now, too.
Yeah. And Sam, you mentioned the deadline, from then President Kennedy, who said by the end of the decade, and he's, set the deadline. And there are so many different management books out there that actually use that as an example of if you set a deadline, you create an actual outcome and action plan, you're going to, make it. It doesn't mean that the world is, it doesn't mean that everything you set out to do is possible.
Yeah.
But, that's the only reason. You think about focus being maintained for 10 years on a project and the experimentation, that goes with that. For one thing, I think it's wonderful that, when Kennedy passed away in 1963, that you still had 7 years of everybody committed to fulfilling that dream and that proclamation
and they stuck with
that he made. And if it hadn't been done in that way, where would we actually be today? Would would everything both privatized and NASA related, be where it is today? Probably not, because it was, you had to push to do something way beyond a comfort zone with a whole lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
And I just think that's that's incredible. It really, that vision was not, no one let go of that vision for that many years. That's what a loved president
deadline,
he was.
Knowing the deadline.
And and this will be the last thing I say about it.
That's fine.
But one of the crazy things about it, if you look back at the Apollo, Gemini, and Mercury, or really the Apollo, Gemini missions, those were going off every few months. It's not like, every few years we got a launch. This was like every few months there was a launch so we could beat that deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the deadlines work. I like knowing that. Okay, something a little lighter that's been, we've talked about in 3 Things to Know today, and we find it fascinating. I find it fascinating. I've never been to the Masters. I've never been on those grounds of Augusta National, but the rules for attendees, it's crazy. The rules. Sam, you want to go over this? We'll go over it again. We mentioned it in 3 Things to Know. No metal like shoes or anything with pointed heels. Nothing with spikes to maintain the grounds. Backwards baseball caps considered a rude violation of etiquette. That's a problem. You're not supposed to wear denim. You're not supposed to have your shirt untucked. There's a lot of of rules for attendees.
Yeah, no phones is always the biggest one.
No phone. That's interesting too. It also means no devices like phones. You're not supposed to even check a text message. You can't even. You're not really supposed to even wear the fitness trackers or the smartwatches. Like, you're not supposed to have that. If you have that, I guess they could take it from you. You agree?
Well, do you not have to put it in lockers when you go?
I don't know. I've never been invited.
Yeah, I've never been out there either for the Masters itself, so I don't know if it's like the phones, keep them in your pocket or leave them in the car. I don't know.
You know that you can't bring in food or concessions, and they're known for their very affordable concessions, very affordable concessions and sandwiches and all of that. And even what beer is $6. That's cheaper than football games.
Yeah.
You cannot bring in flags or banners, signs are a no-no. And look, when you watch it, the coverage, there's a reason that they do all of this. It does not look cluttered. Mm-hmm. It looks so beautiful. That's the only thing. That's the thing about it. It's so beautiful.
What's funny is a lot of those don't bring, don't do are festival type things. You know, you go to a music festival, somebody's got flags.
Yeah,
you bring in your
and
phone,
signs.
You got the chairs.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, you can't do any of that.
So I was just checking the cell phone thing. You do have to check it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't check it and you're caught using it, you'll be dismissed from the property.
Yeah.
If you're pressed, you will lose your credentials and not be able to come back. Yeah. So they do collect it. I mean, I can't imagine a rule being in place and things not being collected up front.
Right.
But they do allow cameras during practice rounds, but that's the only time that they allow.
And by the way, that phone rule applies to everyone. Because if you saw earlier this week, pro Mark Calcavecchia got kicked out using his phone. He won back, I think, in '89 at the Masters, and he was there.
Yeah.
They caught him using his phone, and they kicked him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
you
what?
can't. I mean, it doesn't matter what your role is. A policy is a policy.
I know. And I like that because of they respect themselves. They respect their own property and event. And there's only way that's the way to keep it a tradition like that.
And it's a standard you don't see anywhere else.
I really do like to see the crowd, though. I always enjoy. You might be watching the golfers in the holes, but I love to see who's there and what they're doing and what it's like. Anytime I watch it every year. And the whole souvenirs thing. We touched on this too. Don't even think about trying to get a souvenir. A blade of grass, a golf ball, a sign, a flag, and sand. Don't even try.
I would say those are unofficial souvenirs.
In 2012,
you can buy all the shirts you want, but
there was the real souvenirs are something spectacular. But some guy tried to take a cup and put some sand in it so he could. This is my. Hey, I was at the. And he was arrested, and it ended. The whole ordeal from start to finish ended up costing him about $20,000.
This year too, they're having a big issue with the resellers. When you buy a Masters ticket, if you get a patron's ticket, you're supposed to use it.
Right.
It's not like
it's an honor to have that.
Ticketmaster where you can resell and all that. It's like if you bought the ticket, they want you showing up. They don't want you reselling. So they've had a lot of folks this year. This isn't your name, is it? And they check them out and then they kick them out.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And I'll be thinking about those rules about clothing and all that when I watch.
Well, we know how strict they are personally because when we pulled into the driveway one time just to get a photo, the security guard came up and asked us to leave. I was like, can't we just take a picture?
They're like, no.
And it was at night. And the gates were closed.
I know. We thought we were on the low. We thought we were so smart.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to my other favorite story of the week that also landed in 3 Things to Know. The Home Depot already selling Halloween decor. It's called Halfway to Halloween. It's their drop of some oversized animated decor, like a 9-foot T-Rex. An LED night. Murphy, I need to see that. I don't want an LED night, but I want to see it. It's just bigger, flashier displays and app-controlled animated features. The 12-foot skeleton Skelly is getting a tech upgrade. I don't know if he's on the floor yet, or you can probably order him online. You can record and play custom voice lines from your phone. Like you could be standing in your house, Sam's favorite part, with the app, and Skelly's out there. And if it's your neighbor, you can say something into your phone and Skelly will say it to your neighbor.
I love that. So these aren't leftovers from last year. This is all new stuff. They're just getting ahead of the game.
This is one of the biggest things they've done, and it's halfway to Halloween. It's exactly 205 days away, or 200-something days away now. Yeah. And so, look, it's a big deal for them, and why not? If people do Christmas in July, why can't you do Halloween in April?
True.
Happy Friday.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.